So several videos will be uploaded today, and this will be the last one. One of them will be about the forced medication behind the scene of the Baltimore protesters and how psychiatry is a fraud, with visual representations of what's going on, images to support what I'm saying, illustrations. The next will be about how they radicalized me and not Islam. And I would encourage you to go to my Sid Jackson channel, download relevant videos, including my story and journey toward extremism. Take a screenshot of the date. Do the same with my top martial arts challenge, my sparring match, etc., etc. Establish a chronological timeline of how the events played out to counter any false media narratives of this situation. So referencing this video, I haven't gone through my other videos, and I didn't go through this about my story, and I didn't go through this video until after I made this video that I've already created about my story about extremism, where I'm wearing black and white, and you can tell by my face. I chemically burned my face here and here by using too much acne cream and mixing it with other acne creams to try to get my pimples to go away quicker. And so I have little black marks, you can see them, they're a little bit still, but they're fading. And they'll probably be gone in a couple days, so I'm still alive. Now, this is the last part. The first part of my story and journey toward extremism, I talk about basically the same reasons I've cited in the video I'm going to upload the same day as this one, except for I focus more on, I think, the females, how American women are stupid. All the Western ideology that is appalling to me is manifesting itself in women, and has manifested itself in women all throughout my life. And that's the focus of that video, not the one I'm going to upload today. But the last 30 seconds puts it all in perspective pretty well. And my story has been consistent for years and years, including for 2 or 3 years on YouTube alone, the last 2 or 3 years. Which you do anyway, but in different ways. So anyway, I have 30 seconds left. Basically, homosexuals, feminists, racist, control freaks, lack of understanding from brothers who I used to try to convince of the real problem. They bought into the lie about psychiatry. I showed my brother a documentary where psychiatrists saying psychiatry is fraud. For a moment, he believed me, tried to convince my mom. She was brainwashed too thoroughly. And years of the same old ignorance, same old American politics, same stupid population. People are trying to be normal, stupid fags, feminists, control freaks, puppet sheeps, etc. brought me to the point I am now, which is an extremist thing. Okay, what I don't mention there is the gang stalking. The gang stalking was a major factor too, but I had pretty much run out of time to truly get into what was going on. And part of the reason I had shown my brother that documentary was to convince him that people were harassing me. I didn't know the term gang stalking and group harassment, organized harassment, community harassment at the time, but I was well aware that these people were harassing me, and that Barbara from La Selva was one of the first people who made it clear what was going on, because they had made the mistake of using people who I could recognize from places I've been before, not just random gang stalkers, not just family members, but people themselves who I got to know very well and understood what they look like very well. And that was the day where she drove behind me on Almaden and Cherry, and a motorcycle cop drove next to me. Actually had a weapon, and I could have done something to her. And as I was reaching for it, the motorcycle cop drove next to me. So I think it was important to cover all that. Also, in the video I'm going to upload today, I point out how I defended all my claims, all the major points I've made over the years. I've overkilled them, I've beat them, and I suspect the major opposition from psychiatry is going to be, empirical evidence, first of all, which is, I have 20 years of empirical evidence. The majority of my study is empirical evidence, and then there's research to complement it. And then they're going to say that I don't understand the nuances, for example, between being mad and being bipolar. And I go over this with bootlickers, people who drank the Kool-Aid, sheep, brainwashed idiots, perpetrators, etc. all the time. Okay, psychiatrists give you a 10 questions, usually, and you can get them on the internet. You can be online diagnosed by a computer program, not even by a psychiatrist. Yet they have the nerve to say that only the psychiatrist can make that call. Only psychiatrists are qualified to make that call. So they say things like, well, you know, your brain fires a certain way, and, you know, this is what anger does. What do you think anger does? Your brain's firing a certain way, and it's thoughts that causes your brain to act a certain way. So your brain is trying to compensate for your thoughts, you know, for your mind. They even call these mental illnesses, illnesses of the mind, you know. And then there's a genetic or cognitive aspect as well. So your brain is trying to compensate for the mind, for your thoughts. You know, you really think your brain is capable of doing that perfectly? You think your brain understands thoughts well enough? Especially if you look at the evolution of mankind's genetics versus the evolution of mankind's thoughts. You know, mankind has advanced greatly in the last 2,000 years or so. You know, last 3,000, 4,000 years, especially last 2,000. You know, you really think your brain and your body has kept up with that? Of course it has. Your thoughts are what's going on here. Your body did not keep, your brain's evolution did not keep up with the evolution of mankind's thoughts, and specifically the effects these thoughts have on the brain and on the mind. And one of the major things that makes you angry is when your flow is interrupted by background stressors, by revelations and realizations. You say, I'm being fucked with. My wife cheated on me. I lost my job. A loved one in the family died, etc., etc. This person's insulting me out of nowhere. You know, you walk around to going grocery shopping, all of a sudden someone bumps into you. Fuck you. You get mad. You know what? No, fuck you. You know, and your brain is trying to compensate for that. And of course, later you walk away like, that was stupid. You know, is that a high? Is that a low followed by a high? And then you think about it later. You know what? Even though it's funny, fuck that fool anyway. And you go back to being angry. So of course, naturally, you go up and down. The rate of going up and down is determined by your thought process. Duh, you know, there is nothing they can say that can't be completely explained by anger. And I refuse to believe that a bootlicking shrink with his questionnaire understands the nuances of what's going on in somebody better than they understand it themselves. And the nuances between bipolar disorder, a made-up disorder, never has been proven to exist, ever, not even coming close. No brain scan can show you that this person's bipolar. If such a thing existed, there would be a direct correlation between brain scans of people with bipolar disorder and people who don't have it. There is no such thing. You should be able to take a test, go through a fucking MRI, CAT scan, what have you, EEG, and boom, there you go. You're bipolar. They can't do that. And they haven't even tried to do that because they know the risks involved. If you say, well, this pattern means this person's bipolar, then that pattern, which is probably found in everybody, you know, then the doctor's bipolar and the cop is bipolar. They don't want to do it that way. So they say, you know what? We have to do it a way that's going to keep people like me and my secret society and the bootlickers who are going along with the system from getting diagnosed with it as well. Therefore, it has to be a quote-unquote diagnostic test, which is really a questionnaire. I mean, come on. Complete bootlickers. They radicalized me. I described it in the video that I just cited, the clip I played, as being an extremist, but it's the same thing. I saw they made it clear to me all what conspiracy theorists were true and what conspiracy theorists weren't by their actions. They showed me through gang stalking that there is a massive Judeo/white conspiracy, a Judeo-Christian, atheist, satanic conspiracy. It's atheists and Satanists hiding behind Jews and Christians, and then there's an aspect of sciences, you know, pseudosciences like psychology, psychiatry, and therapy, which are really controlled, and the main people who coined the terms and who contributed to them are people into the occult. And they showed me beyond any doubt that the major opposition movements are controlled. I've had black people approach me. I've had every ethnicity, every cause you can think of, Buddhists, Hindus, every race, every school of thought you can imagine. The major movements from those groups have approached me trying to subvert my movement or trying to co-opt my movement and say, you know what, look at it from this angle, you know, look at it from this atheist angle, you know, even Satanists, look at it from this angle. They're all trying to control me, and they made it very clear that the only way to beat these people is to be a extremist and to take them on to the extreme. The only way you're going to get justice for society and for yourself, and the only way to beat these people. If you look at quote-unquote terrorists throughout history, they're always people whose line has been crossed. You know, you crossed the line with them. You fucked with them too much. We all are capable of taking a certain amount of oppression. You can see it in my own life story. I put up with a lot of oppression before I became a revolutionary around 13 or so. before I started going into gangs and going into black militancy and revolution and call myself a communist at one point, you know, turning to Islam. Before all these things happened, I put up with a lot of oppression. It's you cross the line to the point where a man has to say, you know what, they've gone way too far, I have to do something about this. That is what quote-unquote terrorists have in common. Not some kind of mental illness, not being crazy or being wrong or stuck on stupid. It is the system that is stuck on stupid. On that note, let me end this by proving a point. You see, I'm very calm. And as a martial artist, I get very high strung. Watch how my vibe changes, my mannerisms change. You know, watch how I change. As a martial artist who's trained myself to go to violence, to bring myself from 0 to 100 like this, you know, it's more than an explanation of what's going on. They're fucking with me. I've trained myself from go to 0 to 100 in a split second. I've trained myself to change my mood to fit the circumstances, to fit the situation.